slightly different view on it. So let's start with a small mantra and then we'll get into that. My talk will be based on Ramcharitmanas, which is written by Tulasi Ramyan. So I'll read few chopais from it and I'll translate it. So if you don't understand that Hindi, because it's actually not even Hindi, it's kind of Avdi language, which is ancient form of Hindi. So we'll start with a small mantra. Kalo na janati tav jananam, Kalo na janati tav समापनम, दृष्टो मया तव महाकार योगेश्वर काल कालः, दृष्टो मया तव महाकार योगेश्वर काल कालः. So we'll start with the fact that very small chopai. He says, Hari Anant, Hari Katha Ananta, Kahi Suni Bahuvidhi Sab Santa, Ramchandra ke Charit Suhai, Kalap Koti Lagi Jaye Na Gaye. Translation: Rama's beautiful exploits can't be sung even in millions of kalpas. To give you an indication, one kalpa is only 4.32 billion years. So even if given to me 1,000 kalpas, I can't tell his stories or his exploits. And Guruji gave me 10 minutes, so you can imagine. So there are many ways to connect to Lord. Okay, so in Sanatan Dharma or in our Dharma, we have been given few easy ways to connect to Him, and they are Nam Japa, which we do, Roop, the beautiful idol which He sees, His Gun, which basically means His life story which we just narrated, or His qualities, which Guruji said 32 qualities. And last but not least, his Dham, Ayodhya Dham, where he visited last time when he was in India. So we actually give a lot of importance to all four of them. The biggest one which attracts me is to have a connect with him, or somehow connect to him in whichever bhav, form, shape, relationship you can develop. That is what we call bhakti. If we can develop a bhav, we can have him in any shape or form. Although we say God is unreachable, but according to Sanatan Dharma or Hindu Dharma, yes, he can be achieved. You need to develop that bhav. It can be a Sakhya bhav, a friendship. Treat him as your friend. So did Sudama, so did Sugriv. Treat him as your brother. So did Lakshmana, so did Bharata. Treat him as your son. So did Kaushalya, so did Yashoda. In other words, it is allowed to do in any shape or form, but we need to develop that relationship. Until as that relationship develops, you can develop any, whichever suits your need or your sanskar. Although this was a sakar roop of the Lord, which I said, because you need to have a form that he is my brother, he is my son, he is my this or that. We also acknowledge the nirakar roop, which means the formless form of the Lord. We do acknowledge that as well. There is a small chopai, I read that again. Binupad chalai, sunai bin kana, the one which you comment as well. Binupad chalai, sunai bin kana, kar binu karam, kare vidinana, Anand Rahit, which is without mouth, Sakal Ras Bhogi, he enjoys all the taste without the mouth. Bin Bani Bhakta Barjogi. In other words, I repeat again, he walks without feet, hears without ears, performs action without hands. He enjoys all the rasas without mouth, all the tastes. He is the most clever, the most eloquent speaker, though devoid of speech, doesn't have a speech of his own. I somehow got attracted to the form of Lord Ram. He is classed as Neel Mani, the blue sapphire in his form. We know Ram is the Brahm, he is the supreme bliss, personified. He is the highest Lord, the most ancient. He is Adi and Anant. In other words, he is beginningless and endless. Based on speculations, Vedas have hymned him as best as they could. They tried to explain to him, but in the end, they also only said, not this, not that. So they couldn't even define him fully. As I said earlier on, Hari Gun Naam Apar, Katha Roop Aganit Amit. In other words, infinites are his virtues. We tried to summarize in 32 qualities. His names, his stories, his forms are immeasurable. We cannot measure them. Why Ram Katha? Why this Ramayana? Why this Ramcharitmanas? Ram Katha, Kalimal Harni, Mangal Karni Suhai. In other words, story of Rama cleanses us with all the impurities in Kali Yuga, brings all the blessings and is most charming. This is the full-time job of Hanumanji. He does that wherever he gets a chance. Okay, various examples. The first time he meets Vibhishan, what does he do? Ram Katha he tells to Vibhishan. And why he tells Ram Katha to Vibhishan? Because he realized in the Lanka, that was the only home where a devotee of Rama was there. Because the first thing Vibhishan did after he woke up was he did Ram Japa. That himself qualified himself. And then what happens in Ashok Vatika, Guruji just touched on it, when Sita was in distress, the first thing Hanumanji does is he tells Ram Katha. Hiding behind the bushes, the first thing he does is Ram Katha. Ram Chandra Gun Barnai Laga, Sunat hi Sita kar dukh bhaga. In other words, the moment he started story of Rama, Sita's distress was gone immediately. Katha or story, as per our tradition, is always a samvad or a discussion between two people. If we look at Srimad Bhagavatam, the first thing is Shukdev ji is telling the story to King Parikshit. If we look at Shri Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is talking to Arjun. And similarly in Ramcharitmanas, it's a dialogue between various people. The first among them is Kak Bhushandi and Garuda. Kak Bhushandi is in a form of crow, but he is one of the biggest devotees you can get of Rama. Second is between Shiva and Parvati. Third one is between Yagnevalkji and Rishi Bhardwaj. And last but not least, Shri Tulasi Ji and all of us. So we are always in an exalted company when we are reading that book. So we are always in a noble company. So who is this all about and what is it all about? We've already checked it and we touched on it. I say it is beautifully put by Ma Parvati, and she asked Mahadev for our benefit, not for her benefit. She says, Ek Ram Avdhes Kumara, Tinke Charit Bidit Sansara, Nari Bira Dukh Lahu Apara, Bhai Rosh Ran Ravan Mara. We all know the Prince of Ayodhya. Whole world knows about him. He is the one who was in infinite grief over losing his wife. Flying into rage, he killed Ravana in the battle. Is this such Chit Anand or God personified, which Guruji just mentioned? Is he the Lord? You keep doing Akhand Japa, which means never stopping Japa. Shiva only recites Rama as his Maha Mantra, and that's what he does in Varanasi for a moksha, because moksha is also not in Shiva's hand. He requests Rama to give that moksha, because that department is still with Rama. You, my Lord, are Jagat Guru. You are the truth and you are the all-knower. Kindly tell me the story in detail so that my doubts are removed. Shiva smiles and says, Ram Bhagat tum man kram bani, chaturai मैं जानी, चाहे उसनु Ram gun guda. I have realized that you are truly devoted to Rama and you only want to know the deep secrets. That's why you're asking me this story. You have asked the story which is potent enough to sanctify all the spheres, not just like Ganga who's sanctifying this earth. So this story itself is potent enough to sanctify all the sins present. Please pay attention. Ganga has the power to sanctify our sins, but this story has immense power. Now, why, as us living, as Guruji said, in this luxurious country with all the pleasures, why should we spending time on this? Reason being, Bade bhag manush tan pawa, sur durlabh sab granth hi gawa. With the great luck and Ishwara's blessing, this human form has been granted to us, which is even hard for gods to achieve, because this is the only form in which we can receive moksha. In no other form. Gods have to come to human form to achieve the moksha. This is only capable in this human form. And without Hari Kripa, we cannot meet a sant. A saint in English. Without satsang, vivek na hoi. Without satsang, vivek cannot be achieved. The knowledge cannot be achieved. And without Ram Kripa, that is not easy. Satsang, or what we're doing right now, is the root of all the happiness and blessing. Sadhana is the flower, but the fruit is actually satsang. So by doing sadhana, we can reach to satsang. And without that, it's not possible. Tulasi Das Ji gave a very beautiful category of lucky or being lucky. He says, Badbhagi. Badbhagi means lucky ones. He says, Badbhagi manus tan pava. The human form itself is a sign of being lucky. Badbhagi. Then he says, even luckier are those who get satsang or a company of devoted people. Then he says the next category is Ati Badbhagi. So further, Angad and Vanar soldiers, Sugriv, they have been called as Ati Badbhagi because they had the chance to serve the Lord himself. Then next category he says Atishay Badbhagi. Atishay, even more luckier. Those were the people for whom Ramji left his home and went to them. Few of the names Guruji just mentioned. One was Shabriji, second was Ahilyaji. They may be people from a different backgrounds, but Ramji had to leave his home and reach to them. So they were actually even more luckier. So then next comes Param Badbhagi, even more luckier. Who's that category? He says Jatayuji, who sacrificed himself for the Lord. So he comes even higher than those categories. So all the categories were decided. Then Parvati says, what about Hanuman? You didn't mention Hanuman. I mean, how could you miss him? He says, Hanuman sam nahi badbhagi. There is nobody luckier than Hanuman. Reason Guruji just touched on. Because wherever is Ram Katha, he has been eternally blessed. There was a story in Mahabharata that Kapidhwaj, which Arjuna is carrying on his rath, is nobody but Hanumanji sitting there. And Ramji had to fulfill his promise. Whenever I will do any teaching, you will be there. He is sitting there and again listening to the story. Arjuna was just a reason to be there, but actually it was Hanumanji sitting up there. Yatra yatra raghunath kirtanam tatra tatra krit mastakanjalim vashpavari paripurn lochanam marutim namat rakshasantakam. Whenever there will be Rama's story, Hanuman will be there. So remembering that, Shiva says further, he says, Uma kahu mein anubhav apna, Sat Hari Bhajan Jagat Sab Sapna. This is a very important stanza from Ramayana. He says, this entire universe could be just a dream, or maybe it is a dream. That is from his experience. The only thing which is true is Harinam. In other words, remembering the name of Hari or reciting the mantra which Rama has said. Ramcharitmanas, the holy and beautiful Ramcharitmanas, is a delight of sages. It was conceived by Shiva himself, and having conceived it, he kept in his heart, and till a favorable opportunity came, and then he shared it with Ma Parvati. So Tulasi Das Ji says that it was conceived by Shiva himself, not by Tulasi Das Ji. Now, as promised by Shiva himself, it's not a story of a king or a prince that takes a revenge on Dashanan or Ravan. It has a lot of deep secrets, and a lot of stories or things which come out of it are actually the essence of Vedas and Puranas. So if we don't have the time or lifetime to read all the Vedas and Puranas, we should try and read Ramcharitmanas because it's very concise and it's got everything in it. I will give you two small snippets from it just to confirm what I've just said. We all know that Ishwar can be reached by Gyan Marg, Bhakti Marg, by any form, whichever we choose to. But what happens when a Gyani reaches to his ultimate destiny and sees the Lord in front of him? Has anybody thought about it? Because Gyani doesn't have a Deh Bhav. So remember that. If a Gyani doesn't have a Deh Bhav, how is he going to enjoy the company of Lord? Come along, I'll show you what happens when a Gyani sees the Lord. What happens? Story goes to the kingdom of Janak. Janak is Sita's dad. So Janak has just got the message that Vishwamitra has arrived. So he comes with all his pandits and everybody to come and greet. And now according to normal cultural norms in India, when kids enter into a place where elders are sitting, they go and bow down to everybody and pay their respect, etc., etc. Now see what happens here. As soon as Ramji and Lakshmanji enters the assembly where Guru Vishwamitra is sitting along with Raja Janak being the Videhraj means the one who has lost body sense. He is not in the body anymore. The moment they enter, everybody stands up, including the king. So they are smitten by the beauty. Then he says, Syam Gor Mradu Vyas Kisora, Lochan Sukhad Visv Chit Chora, Uthe Sakal Jab Raghupati Aaye, Bhaye Sab Sukhi, Dekhi Do Bhrata, Bhayu Bidehu Biseshu. In other words, when two brothers entered, tender, young, fair and dark, entered the gathering, giving delight to the eyes and stole their hearts. Everyone stood up and they were all delighted, but Videhraj, Janak, was beside himself. So this guy is the epitome of Gyan Marg. He was beside himself and choking with emotions, he asks Vishwamitra, who are these boys? Are these Rishi Putras or are they son of some king? And just as soon as I see them, my mind which has been conquered by me, I am Viragi, I am Sahaj Viragi, is unable to stop being attracted to this roop. So this is what happens to people on Gyan Marga. The moment they see the Lord, they cannot remain away from his shape or form. So this was just one snippet I gave you. Vishwamitra answered very beautifully. He said, there is no living creature in this world who does not love these boys or smitten by their roop. Listening to this conversation, Ramji smiled. And whenever he smiles, that means his Leela is starting. And he requested in his heart, why are you guys spoiling my Leela? I don't want you to tell my roop to everybody present here. Chidanand mai deh tumari, bigat bikar gyan adhikari, nartan dhareu sant sur kaja, which Guruji just said, kahehu karahu just prakat raja. Your body, your swarup is all sat chit anand. Only mind which are clear of impurities can realize it. So this is the condition though. Only the mind which is clear of impurities can realize it. It is for sake of saints and gods that you have taken a human form, which Guruji just explained to us, and you speak and act as worldly kings. One day Guhraj, while being with Lakshmanji, sees Ramji and Sitaji. Guhraj is the tribal lord or tribal king who is accompanying Ram and Sita. And he could not bear seeing Sitaji lying under the tree. And choking with emotions, he says to Lakshmana, seeing Jagdamba Ma Sita sleeping on a pallet and weary and uncovered, he could not bear that pain anymore to see Sita in that shape. Now Lakhan or Lakshman, who is the younger brother, he has always been told as an incarnation of Sheshnag, full of anger, etc., etc. But the reality is the other way around. That's where Ramcharitmanas or Ramayana is important, because in the movies we see him as an angry young prince. But the reality is Lakhan bole madhur mritubani, gyan virag bhagati rasasani. Lakshman spoke the words sweet and gentle, full of detachment and devotion. No man is the cause of another's joy or sorrow. No man can cause joy or sorrow to others. All reap the fruit of their actions. Union, separation. experience of good and evil, friends and foes are nothing but illusions. Birth, death, prosperity, adversity, destiny, and time are all entanglements of this world. This is Lakshmana's word. Land, home, city, your family, and all that you can see or even imagine in your head, all that you can see and even imagine in your head are rooted in ignorance. They are nothing but agyan. Nothing exists in reality. Just as in a dream you may become a pauper, or you may become the Indrasan or kingdom of heaven, you are on waking, nothing was gained or lost. In this night of mundane existence, it is the yogi who keeps awake and who is always in the quest of highest, like Guruji says, Vairaga or Vishesha Raga. I believe this is similar in Gita Ji as well, where he says, in the night of mundane existence, it is the yogi who is awake and who is always in quest of highest truth, detached from unreal. That yogi, renouncing all worldly pleasures, may be regarded as awakened. It is only when Vivek dawns and delusion disappears, then is born the true devotion to Raghunath's feet, to the feet of Lord Rama. This is, my friend, the highest spiritual wisdom, to be devoted to feet of Shri Rama in Man, Kram and Vani. Again, Shiva's statement, Sat Hari Bhajan Jagat Sab Sapna. That is the only reality, is bhajan. So with that, I take your permission. Thank you. I exceeded my time.
And he concluded as a bhajan.